Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. Happy Mother's Day. We're so thankful that you're here with us. We are going to head into some worship, and today we have Pastor Kyle and Pastor Danny sharing together. I'm so excited to hear from them. I hope you are too, and I just pray that you are staying engaged wherever you're watching this and that you are able to encounter the presence of the living God today.
Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. God of Abraham, you're the God of covenants and faithful promises. And time again, you have proven you'll do just what you said. Though the storm may come and the wind may blow, I remain steadfast. And let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. Oh, you're so faithful, Lord. You're so faithful, Lord. And God, from age to age, though the earth may pass away, your word remains the same. Your history can prove, oh, there's nothing you can't do. You're faithful and true. Though the storm may come and the wind may blow, I'll remain steadfast. And let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. And I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Oh, I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Oh, I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground. Oh, my hope and firm foundation. Oh, he'll never let me down. I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground. Oh, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Oh, you'll never let me down. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. You're so faithful, you're so faithful, you're so faithful. You're so faithful, you're so faithful. In every season you are God. In every season you are so faithful, Lord. In every season you are God, and you reign over it all. And I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Oh, I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. Oh, you'll never let me down. Oh, you'll never let me down. Oh, you'll never let me down. You're so faithful, oh Lord. Faithful you are. Faithful forever you will be. Faithful you are. And all your promises are yes and amen. And all your promises are yes and amen. Oh, faithful you are. Faithful forever you will be. Faithful you are. And all your promises are yes and amen. And all your promises are yes and amen. I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness. I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness. Faithful you are. Oh, faithful forever you will be. Faithful you are. And all your promises are yes and amen. And all your promises are yes and amen. And you can have it all, Lord. Every part of my world. And take this life and breathe on this heart that is now yours. You can have it all, Lord. Every part of my world. And take this life and breathe on this heart that is now yours. There's no greater call than giving you my all. I lay it all down. I lay it all down. There is no greater love, no higher name above. I lay it all down. I lay it all down. There is no greater call than giving you my all. I lay it all down. I lay it all down. There is no greater love, no higher name above. I lay it all down. Oh, I lay it all down. Oh, I'm laying myself down at the feet of Jesus. I lay myself before you, oh God. Oh, I lay myself before you. I worship before you, King Jesus. You can have it all. You can have my life, oh Lord. You can have my life, oh Lord. You can have all of me. You can have it all, Lord. In every part of my world. And take this life and breathe on this heart that is now yours. You can have it all, Lord. Every part of my world. We'll take this life and breathe on this heart that is now yours.
Hello, Anchor Church. We love you. Welcome to church online only this week.
Again.
Yes. We did this for a while, and it's crazy. It's almost like exactly a year, and we're back online. But if you're watching this live, not only is it Sunday, it is a very special Sunday.
Yes. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
Hope you have a great Mother's Day. Anchor Kids, if there's any Anchor Kids watching right now, especially if you're with your mom, just go give her the biggest hug right now.
Yeah.
If she's already showered and done her hair, don't mess it up too bad. If not, she's free game. Just go smother her right now with love, and make sure everybody else, regardless of your age, if you have a chance today to wish your mom a happy Mother's Day, do that. And those of you that maybe today presents a difficult day, we love you.
Yeah.
We stand with you and believe the best for you in this.
Yes.
We're kind of just today we are gonna teach some content, but more of a quarantine conversation that Danny and I are gonna have that we just want to invite you into. So if they have their Bibles, where should they turn?
Romans 12. We're going to look at the rest of chapter 12 today.
Yeah. So if you've been with us live, if you've caught the last several weeks, we've looked at the first 2 verses of Romans chapter 12, and it's been really awesome. But then there's this rest of the chapter, the rest of the thought, and we're going to look at what these first 2 verses kind of set up for the rest of Romans chapter 12. And the truth is, there is a lot of content in the rest of this chapter. It's like this setup, and then we just get all these different principles, all these different thoughts communicated to us. And I've related this concept of just this array of options as a buffet. Danny, will you tell us how you feel about a buffet?
Buffets are probably my least favorite thing on the planet.
I don't
because I just feel like it's all the food mixed together in a slop pile, kind of.
But it's so many options, so many different categories, and you can put it all on one plate.
I know, but I don't want to eat like fresh fruit and fish sticks and soft serve ice cream together.
I like a good buffet on occasion. And I feel like we don't have them anymore.
No, I wonder why. Can we call it, instead of a buffet, like a charcuterie of Romans 12?
Charcuterie or buffet.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I just like food, so charcuterie
Sounds good.
is good for me. But what are you? I'm team buffet if it comes down to it, at least for the sake of argument today. Are you team buffet or team charcuterie? You can even in the comment section right now. Who you with
Join
right
my
now? Are you
side.
charcuterie? I think I've got an advantage because who knows how to spell charcuterie? You might start like, yeah, we're just
Team
gonna go
C.
team buffet. No. It's cheap. But the buffet has so many different options that you can just choose from.
Yeah.
And today we're just going to look at a lot of principles. Danny, will you start off by kind of recapping, read for us maybe Romans 12, 1 and 2, and then can you do in 3 minutes what took me 3 hours to do?
I can probably do it in less.
And just recap those 2 verses.
Perfect. So I'm just going to read Romans 12, 1 and 2. And it says, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect." And just in summary, kind of, those verses are saying, it starts off by saying, and so, or therefore. And the chapters before Romans 12, it just lays out the gospel and it's saying, so in response to the gospel, this is what your life should look like. In response to what Jesus has done for us, this then is how you should live your life. And it says to live your life as a sacrifice. It's not about us. And we see that Jesus was the best example of this for us. His whole life was for other people. And it's saying that Jesus will find that acceptable. God finds that acceptable. Yeah. And this is the way that we worship him. This is the way. It's not just coming together and singing songs and, going to church, which is a part of it, but it's living your whole life as a sacrifice to what God is calling you to do. Yeah. And sometimes that's hard, but it is the most fulfilling you will ever find yourself in life. And then it says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world. Don't live like the world, even though it seems attractive on some sides. But let God transform the way that you think. So and there's so much in our minds, we all know this, that we just need to constantly be giving our mind and our thoughts over to Jesus because he will transform it if we let him. And it says, then you will learn God's will for your life, which is good and pleasing and perfect.
Yeah, it's so good. And kind of where we landed, if you were with us a couple weeks ago, is just this concept of knowing that there's a plan and a purpose for our life that is good. And the way that we get there, it's not this big ta-da moment where God opens the doors or pulls off the covers and shows us this hidden will for our lives. It's like as we allow God to transform us, as we offer our whole lives to him in worship because he is so worthy, that we begin to recognize his will is simple obedience. It's being transformed to be more and more like him. We read this verse 2 weeks ago. It's 1 Thessalonians 4:3. It says it this way: God's will for you is to be holy. And this is kind of where we left off. That we see the gospel, when we see how incredible it is, how worthy God is, we just say, not just part of me, I'm all in. I'm going to give my entire life fully committed. And then we begin to be transformed. It's the word we use, sanctification, this progressive, continual becoming more and more holy, more and more righteous. And as that is taking place, like we find ourselves walking in God's will as we are walking in obedience. So I think where that leaves us and where we want to jump into now today is like, okay, so God's will is that I become holy. Okay, what does holiness look like? And to be honest, it could look like a million different options, like how we respond in certain situations, with certain pressures, with certain relationships, with certain decisions. Like holiness is knocking on the door in a various array of circumstances in our life. But what I love is as we continue on through Romans 12 today, is it gives us a lot of different examples, a lot of different categories. So what we talk about today, it's not comprehensive on every single way that you can be holy, but it begins to list out some areas and gives us a good picture of it. This is the buffet. A buffet does not give you every single food option on the planet. If someone didn't know what food was, didn't know it, we could explain, it's something you eat, it brings you nourishment. They're like, no, show me some examples. A buffet would be a really great place to start because you got some of this, you got some of that, you got the guy carving the meat at the end, I miss Granny's buffet.
No!
I went to a lot of Granny's. On Sundays, they had an omelet bar. Like, this is just...
Oh.
I'm a big fan of the omelet bar.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just am dreaming about the buffets. But if you went to a buffet, you get the salad, you get the fruit, you get the meat, you get the Italian, you get the dessert tray, you get it all, and you get a good picture of what food is. And I think it's the same with holiness. There's no way we're going to be able to go down, this is what holiness looks like in every single circumstance of life. But this gives us a really good picture. So we're going to jump into verse 3, and we're just going to walk through this verse by verse. And I hope if you have your Bible, you can join us. I think we're going to put scriptures on the screen if you don't have your Bible. But let's dig in. Verse 3.
Perfect. So verse 3 says, because of the privilege and authority God has given me, I give each of you this warning. Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given us. And this is just showing us that holiness comes in evaluating ourselves and being humble, but also not being self-deprecating. But it's evaluating ourselves properly and looking at our lives and seeing where we need to change things, where we need to maybe adjust the way that we think. And I just feel like God, if we are constantly keeping our eyes on God, He's molding us into this masterpiece, right? That's the whole point of sanctification, is it's constantly changing. And so you can evaluate where you are, but that doesn't mean you get stuck there. And I think that a lot of people struggle with having insecurities and a lot of self-deprecating thoughts, and I just want to say that if you are constantly looking at Jesus and you're being transformed more and more like Him, you can't have an improper view of yourself, because then you don't have the proper view of God. And if we're trying to become more like Jesus and more like God, we have to love ourselves as well, because that's what we're looking to be, and we have to have that that view of Jesus, and in turn that reflects that I love myself too.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. The way that we allow God to transform the way that we think, the way that we see Him, and as we're becoming more like Him, not that we serve Jesus so that we have a higher opinion of ourselves, but those things are going to go together. Like, He is so good, He's so incredible, and you realize it's because of Him,
not because of me. I'm not thinking of myself as being so good. It's because of Jesus.
And if I think He's so incredible and He's making me like Him, well, my self-image is on the increase as well. I just love that holiness is going to affect the way that you think, but it's going to the way you think about God first, but it also affects the way that you think about yourself. Let's jump into verse 4. It says, just as our bodies have many parts, and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. We all belong to each other. So what I love about this is as we grow in holiness, and we become more like God, not only does it change the way we think about ourselves, but it begins to change the way that we think about the body of Christ and our role in it. Now, I intend to preach a very extensive series on this topic soon. I don't know if it'll be this year or when, but about being the body. And what I love about this is it says that we all belong to each other, meaning you don't just attend a church. You belong to everybody else. You don't just belong to a building. You don't belong to Anchor. You belong to each other. And when you're not there, when you're not a part of it, when you're not contributing, who you are and what you belong to is missing out. And the more we grow in holiness, then the way that we now increase the way that we view ourselves, we recognize what we bring to the table. That we no longer just go to a church to consume, to be fed,
Yeah.
because we like certain dynamics of it. And I hope all of that's true, but we start recognizing, no, I'm a part of a body. I'm a part of a movement, and I have a gift. I have a skill set that I can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And I don't belong just to myself. I now belong to this community. And so holiness is going to manifest itself in our lives. One example of it is I recognize the beauty of the body, and I recognize my role in it, that I belong and everyone else belongs to each other. And I just think it's beautiful the way that we start viewing the church as we grow in holiness.
Yeah.
Verse 6.
Verse 6 kind of goes along with that. It just says, in his grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. So if God has given you the ability to prophesy, speak out with as much faith as God has given you. If your gift is serving others, serve them well. If you are a teacher, teach well. If your gift is to encourage others, be encouraging. If it is giving, give generously. If God has given you leadership ability, take the responsibility seriously. And if you have a gift for showing kindness to others, do it gladly. Which I love the way that verse 6 starts saying, in his grace, like God's grace is to gift us differently, because the body of Christ needs different aspects to it. We need teachers, we need encouragers.
Yeah.
And so we can't compare ourselves to each other, because we are all a part of the whole body. And it's God's grace that we are different. We don't want to be robots and like all be the same. That was a pretty good robot impression. But it's his grace that we are different, and that he's given us different gifts. And I see a lot in here. It's talking about our attitudes and using our gifts. It's saying, do things well, do things with excellence, speak out with as much faith. It says to serve well, teach well, encourage well, take responsibility seriously. Like, there's some major attitude in this. Like, you need to take your gift seriously and invest in your gift. And you know what? If you don't see something on this list that you feel like, oh, that's my gifting, then whatever you are passionate about inside you, use that. If you have something that you feel like you're gifted at, use that. It doesn't have to be specifically on this list. Because God has made us all creative and all different, and that is the beauty of the body of Christ.
Yeah, it's so good. That you can start thinking, like, me becoming more holy allows me to just say, okay, what experiences do I have? What talents, what abilities do I have? And then recognizing this is something that's been given to me, that it can be given back in worship to God. Like, this is worship. This is I now have a view of how holiness caused me to become a contributor. Let's jump into verse 9. It says, don't just pretend to love others, really love them. Hate what is wrong, hold tightly to what is good. Don't just pretend to love others. I think that, and this is kind of in the context of the body. So this is a lot larger than just at church, but I just love that this is saying, don't just show up and like smile and say hello and like give this persona that like you love them. No, actually love people. Like, have a conversation, get to know a name, invite them over, be kind, be generous. Like, don't just pretend to love other people, but I'm actually just here because it makes me feel good. No. We contribute. And holiness now manifests itself as, I don't just put on a smile, I actually express love to the people around us. And then it says to hate what is wrong, hold tightly to what is good. Like, this is some of the same language of don't conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed as God is molding us and making us. There has to be, holiness is simultaneously resisting that which is impure, that which is can tarnish holiness. We must resist that and push it further away. At the same time, we must embrace that which is good, that which is holy, that which is righteous. We resist and we pursue at the same time.
Which I feel like it uses the word hate there, which even in our house, like when our kids say the word hate, I'm like, stop, don't say that word. And I'm like, wait, it's in the Bible. It says to hate what is wrong. That is so strong. And I feel like maybe even in our culture, in our society right now, like, we feel like we need to accept and love everybody, which is true. Loving is true, but you can still, the Bible says to hate what is wrong. Like, remove it from your life. It's just pretty strong. I felt like.
And it's side by side with loving. Like, really love does
Yeah.
include hating what is wrong, what is
Yeah.
hurtful, what is harmful, that those are not in opposition to each other, that loving can include hating what is harmful and what is evil. Continuing in verse 10 says, love each other with genuine affection
Yeah.
and take delight in honoring each other. That as we grow more like Jesus, as we increase in holiness, one way that is displayed is we actually enjoy, we delight honoring, celebrating, lifting up, encouraging,
Yeah.
that we're not looking for our own recognition, that we find the delight shifting from am I noticed to I actually delight in lifting
Yeah,
up, building
it's
up,
so good.
honoring somebody else. Holiness looks that way in our lives. And then verse 11, it says, never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically.
Yeah.
That an
So good.
increase in holiness is a decrease in laziness. Like, it's just the Bible. It's just what it says. That we grow in holiness, we become more like Him, and what it does is it instills inside of us a drive,
Yeah.
a mission, a purpose, that we're going to serve the Lord, and whenever we're serving, we're working hard.
Yeah.
And we're doing it with enthusiasm. Enthusiasm communicates joy to me. Like, this is exciting. That we don't show up at 7 a.m. just like super bummed that we got to sweat to set up the chairs. And I'm talking to myself right now. That screen is it's a burden that we bear. But it's showing up and saying, no, I'm ready to serve. And I've got passion and enthusiasm. And we're going to work hard because the gospel is rooted in me. I give my life to Him, and as I become more like Him, laziness goes to the side, and I have a passion, I have a drive, I have a vision to participate in what God is doing, that I'm
good.
all in with it. So it shows up, holiness, as hard work, serving the Lord with enthusiasm.
Love it. So verse 12 and 13 say, rejoice in our confident hope, be patient in trouble, and keep on praying. Actually, I'm going to pause there after verse 12. And that is like different emotions, right? Rejoicing, being patient, both. Well, rejoicing's easy. Being patient is hard.
Yep.
And keep on praying. Don't quit. I think what the translation I read says, pray continually. And this is not a religious thing. This is just having that constant communication with our Father, or with Jesus, or with the Holy Spirit. And it's having Him continually guiding your life. And holiness will come from Jesus guiding your life. And when you're in constant communication, it's just handing those things over to Jesus, and He will guide you. And then verse 13 says, when God's people are in need, be ready to help them. Always be eager to practice hospitality. And we just want to say that we have seen this take place in Anchor Church recently with the Purdom family. You guys, it's obvious to us that our church is growing in holiness because you guys were so ready to help the Purdoms and continually are. And we're so proud of you and so grateful that we can see this. And that shouldn't just stop with the Purdoms. We need to continually help those in need and be hospitable to people. So good job.
Yes, incredible. Proud of you, church. Love you, church. Purdoms, if you're watching, we are with you through this whole process. We're with you. We love you. Jumping into verse 14, it goes on to say what holiness looks like. Bless those who persecute you. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them. Sometimes I wish that holiness didn't have to look like this. But it is. This is like the part of the buffet that you just kind of wasn't there. Wish wasn't there. It's like the chocolate pudding.
Oh my gosh.
What's with the pudding,
cheese.
cottage cheese, the Jello section? I don't know if you're into that stuff, but it's like
It's all kind of mixed together.
maybe not. However, cottage cheese and peaches, I'll go there. But this part is maybe not the most enjoyable. But what holiness looks like as we become more like Him, we'll bless those who have persecuted us, who've spoken ill of us. We won't curse back. But we'll pray that God will bless them. That's difficult, but it just gets this spot of saying, God, you know what's best for them. And I know the desires in my heart. I know what I'm feeling. I know what I would want. But God, they are your child. That is your son. That is your daughter. They are image bearers. Like, you care for them. And so, Lord, my prayer is now going to be, you know what's best for them. You know what would bring out the best fruit in them. So I'm going to ask you to do that. I'm going to lay aside all my thoughts, desires, opinions, And God, I trust that you're good. And I'm going to ask and I'm going to pray that you'd bless them because you know what's best for them.
Yeah.
And then verse 15, it says, be happy with those who are happy and weep with those who weep, which is just empathy. It's being able to not just have concern for someone or be happy for someone, but you join with them in those emotions. And I just love that the more that we grow in holiness, the more that we become like Jesus, transformed into him, the more empathetic we become because that's who he is.
Yes, so good.
He celebrates when we celebrate. He mourns when we mourn.
Yeah.
And we become more like him. And so that means that, when we see situations in life, when someone else succeeds, we don't just have like, good for you. But I'm actually kind of disappointed I didn't get the promotion. But I can like genuinely celebrate you. Like, I'm so happy for you. And when someone else is hurting, it goes beyond, oh man, I'll be praying for you, to like, I actually can feel and be moved with what you're going through. Yeah. And first, that's how Jesus is related to you in the good and the bad. So and now that's what it means to be more and more like him. That's what holiness will look like is we grow in empathy with those around us.
Yeah, I love that. So 16, 17, and 18 say, live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people. And don't think you know it all. Never pay back evil with more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone can see that you are honorable. Yeah. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Which, wow, this is like such a challenge right now, I feel like, with COVID and politics and everybody. Our country is so divided, it feels like, and opinions are everywhere, and it feels like we just need to fight and to get our opinion out there. But it says to live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud. Don't think you know it all, because we don't. And I just love that the part of 17 that says, do things in such a way that everyone can see that you are honorable. The way that we respond to difficult situations will show the world Jesus. Yeah. It just will, because Jesus was never ready to spite someone or pay someone back, or to shove his opinion. He was there to be a peacemaker. And that's what we're called to do. And this is super hard for me because it's so easy to want to fight for your opinion and be right. It feels good to be right. But you know what feels even better is to live in peace with people.
So to choose unity over choosing, not laying down my convictions, but saying, no, I'm going to hold strong to my conviction, to what I believe is true and is right. Yeah. But choosing a response or communication tactic that is unifying rather than proving. That even if I still believe what I believe is right, what good is it to just try to drive home that I'm right rather than a choice of unity without compromise?
Yeah. And you know what? Something that someone that's close to us just told us is you have to do the right thing, but you don't always have to have the right emotions behind it, which is really freeing to me, because I can still choose to do the right thing but feel like upset about it, maybe even, or like I have to process with the emotions still. But if I'm still doing the right thing, it's okay to have emotions and feelings towards those. But we still choose to do the right thing.
Even if there's unholy emotions, we choose holy action.
Yes, that's a better way to say it. Thank you.
We don't let emotion guide the decision. We choose holiness. We choose the image of Christ, and we still process and evaluate and work through the emotional level.
So good.
Really good stuff.
Okay, verse 19 and 20 say, dear friends, never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, I will take revenge. I will pay them back, says the Lord. Instead, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals of shame on their heads. Which is like so poetic, this verse, and so against our flesh. Like, we want revenge. We want you to, if you've wronged me, then I'm going to wrong you. And that is not the way of God. It's just not. And we have to trust that Jesus has it under control. He will bring redemption to that situation or those circumstances, and it's out of our hands. And really, like, that's where you're gonna find that bitterness leaving you, and you're gonna find the anger leaving, is when you can just let go of those things. And honestly, this whole chapter is, all of these things are contrary to our flesh. These are, and that's what holiness is, because it's so not our flesh, it's God. And so if you can feel like you're doing something that's contrary to your flesh, you know that you're growing in holiness.
That's really good.
Yeah.
As you're just reading that, this just jumped out to me for the first time. That says that we're to leave that to the righteous anger of God. Which first says God has anger, which is not
emotions.
A comfortable conversation. Some people want to deny that there would be anger in God, but his anger is an anger we don't know, because it's righteous. So there may be anger that can well up inside of us, but holiness says, now I'm going to lay down my unrighteous anger.
That's really good.
And trust a God who will get angry about the right things, but he will be righteous in his anger. And it's just such a freeing spot. It's not like God doesn't care about injustice. He's just going to handle it righteously. So rather than trying to figure out what it is, like, I just say, God, I want to trust. I want to leave it to your righteous anger.
That's so good.
Let's finish off this chapter, verse 21. It says this: don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. Don't let evil conquer you, but you need to conquer evil by doing good. Maybe first the bad news. There is evil and it wants to conquer you. Like that, it just exists. There is evil. There is an enemy that desires to conquer. But we're not going to let that happen. It says that we are able to overcome evil. We're able to conquer evil by doing good. Now, it's really important to bring this into context. If we just read this verse in isolation, that leaves us to believe, well, I will conquer evil by doing enough good. That now it's on my shoulders to be strong enough, to be good enough, to be better than others. I need to be a good person. I need to have enough good works to overcome evil. That by itself leaves us pretty hopeless. But we take this whole thing in context. I mean, we go all the way back to verse 1. It says, therefore, in response to the gospel. This is always a byproduct of the grace of God. And it has been outlaid throughout this chapter. It is his grace, it is his love, it is his character, it's his mercy. But the end result of his character becoming our character is works. It does come out in the way that we behave. If you've been with us for a while, we kind of had this process that we laid out sometime last year. But the biblical process of leading us to good works, it always starts with grace. If you look at the Bible, everything, it is grace first. That grace enters our lives. We hear the good news of Jesus. But when we actually see the grace of God and we receive it, grace always leads to faith. That we begin to believe. We begin to respond. And so grace builds faith. Faith doesn't come first. We don't believe and then God is gracious to us. Grace comes first. And then that produces faith. But Scripture is so clear that faith without works is dead. That faith always leads to works. You live that out. If you believe, you behave. And so good works, honoring God, responding to the gospel does happen. But it is got to be in order. It's grace first. Grace will produce faith. Faith will produce works. And so if works is absent, it's not just a matter of work harder on your works, be better. It is rewinding the clock and looking once again at the gospel.
So good.
When I see the goodness of Jesus, when I'm reminded of his love for me, faith gets stirred up and faith always produces works. And then the beauty of that is good works have a lot of power. They overcome evil. That it is the work that is our act of worship. It is our response. It is our purpose. It is the tasks that God has given us. It produces influence. It produces impact. It raises children and generations of faith. And so much does come from it. But it starts with grace, leads to faith, and then leads to good works. So don't let this be a challenge to go do good so you overcome evil. No, get infatuated with the gospel. Let the goodness of Jesus just overwhelm you and let the process play out, and you're going to see incredible victory and influence in your life. This This is the process of becoming more holy. It is sanctification. Salvation is instant. Sanctification is progressive and increasing.
Yeah.
And it is not just the story for some people, it's a story that's available for you.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone's watching right now that maybe you're not a follower of Jesus, or you're kind of on the fence, or you've kind of just been maybe a relationship with church and religion. I want to tell you today would be just the best day ever to see the grace of Jesus,
Yeah.
and let that produce faith inside of you. That the message is not, okay, if you're going to do this, here's the standard of holiness and you
Yeah.
better live up to it. No, it is, will you join us? Will you join our community in the process of sanctification?
Yeah.
Maybe some have been on the journey longer than others, but we're not here to compare ourselves. We're saying to
Yeah.
anyone and everyone, hey, this is the best news ever. And God is transforming us and changing
Yeah.
the way that we think, and He's giving us purpose and influence, and we would welcome you to that journey.
Yeah.
If you're watching today, and that's something that you feel led to do, we would love to know who you are. We'd love to pray for you. We'd love to know your story. A simple way you could let us know that you're there is anywhere in these comment sections or direct messages on social media. But on our website, there's another spot. Our website's goanchorchurch.com. There is a contact button, and if you can just say, it's just a form right there that says, I've decided to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
We'd love to have someone get a hold of you. Those of you that are followers of Jesus, specifically those of you that call Anchor Church your home, we have a passion to let God transform us,
Yeah.
to grow in holiness. He is worthy, and
Yeah.
we're going to give all that we are and let Him mold and make us and transform us. And it's been just wonderful today to walk through this buffet of the goodness of God and what holiness does. Danny,
Yeah.
will you pray for our church and our
Yeah.
community and anyone watching before we go?
Perfect. Jesus, thank you so much for who you are and what you've done for us, God. And I just thank you so much for your word, and that it just gives us these truths that we can live out in our lives. And I just pray that you would just continue to guide us, Father, that we would just keep our eyes on you, and you would just be continually changing the way that we think and the way that we act, Father. And we're just so thankful for your grace. And we know that it's by that we can live a life that is growing in holiness, God. And we just thank you so much for what you're doing in Anchor Church, what you're doing in our lives individually. And I just pray that we would just continue to love each other more, love you more, seek you more, Jesus. And just thank you for what you're doing. We just pray for the Purdom family, God, that you would just be with them. And we just thank you for Mother's Day again, and all the moms out there. You would just bless them today.
Yes.
We love you, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. We love you, Anchor Church. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms.
Yes.
And we fully intend to be with you live next
Yay.
Sunday. So thanks for joining us. Have an
Yes.
amazing rest of your day. See you next week.
Bye.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that message. We are going to be in person next week, so we encourage you to follow along on social media. You can also check goanchorchurch.com any time of the week there for updates if you would like to. Thanks for being with us again, and we can't wait to see you soon.